building and designing a website. These are important to know before you actually start using Dreamweaver. We're going to cover these rules in this lesson before moving on to using Dreamweaver for the rest of the course. Take your time with this lesson and make sure you learn the information presented, especially if you've never designed a website before. A website is a series of pages that are linked together. Every website that you design will have a home page. The home page is the page visitors see when they visit your site. It can be called the first page of your site. For example, if your domain is www.abcxyz.com, your home page will be the page people see when they go to www.abcxyz.com. The home page is also called the index page. That said, your home page will also link to the other pages in your site. Those pages may contain links to other pages or subpages within your site. However, it's important to remember that your home page links to all your main pages in your site, whereas subpages are created when you create links on other pages, not the home page, to other pages that aren't linked from the home page. All your files and pages for your website will be saved in one folder. Your home page and other pages will be inside this folder. Also inside this folder, you may have other folders or subfolders to help you better organize your site for maintenance, updates, and management. For example, look at the website folder that we're showing here. This is the local copy of a website or the copy saved to a computer. In this snapshot here, you'll see the following pages: About, Bathroom, Billing, and Blog. The pages are listed alphabetically so you don't see the home page. However, it's listed as index as it will be for you. Above the pages, you see the subfolders, CSS, fonts, and images. All images we use in our site are contained in the images folder to make the site more organized and images easier to find if we want to change or remove them. Your website structure has two sides. What you see, which is like the folders that we saw in the previous slide, and what visitors who come to your site see. What you see is made up of pages, folders, and files. What your user sees is the design and navigation, or how they get from one page to the next. Let's discuss both sides of your site structure. So first, let's talk about what visitors see. As said above, what your user sees is the design and navigation of your site. When they first come to your website, they will be on your home page. What will they see there, and how will they move from the home page to other pages in your site? Your visitors should be able to easily see the navigation of your site as well as important information on the pages. You want to make sure that your users can easily see and get to the important information on all pages and locations on your site, easily move between pages, easily move between sections, and return to the main page or home page of your site and other pages in one step or click of the mouse. You'll learn how to create navigation menus later in this course. Now let's talk about the second aspect of managing your site, or what you see. You'll want to organize what you see as talked about earlier in this lesson. You'll want to plan this out before you ever start designing your site so you can organize pages, folders, and files easily as you design the site. You'll want to create these three systems before you start designing your site. A file naming system. This will be how you name files. If you're naming images, you'll want to decide on how you're going to name the images. Maybe you'll want the images to match your page names. For example, an image on your page might be named about1.jpg. Another image on your page may be named about2.jpg. You may also want to name files for what they represent. For example, howtoknit.jpg for a picture that goes with text that tells how to knit. You'll also want a folder system. You'll want to put the images, animations, CSS files, JavaScript files, and so forth in folders to make it easy to find these things when you need them. Create all your folders ahead of time. The only thing you don't want to create a folder for is your pages. Which brings us to a page system. How are you going to name your pages? The simplest way to name them is by their type. For example, about.html or contact.html. You can also name them using keywords if you're optimizing your site as you create it, such as howtoknit.html. Now let's talk a little bit about HTML, XHTML, and HTML5. HTML is a markup language that you use to mark up a page or give instructions for how a web page should look. It's not a programming language. You write HTML using tags. The tags are the markup instructions that tell your web browser how the page must look. So for example, this right here is a markup that tells a web browser that the text following the tag must appear in boldface print. So this is an example of an open tag. You use an open tag where you want the markup instructions to begin. You use a closed tag where you want the markup instructions to end. So you can see that this slash has been added here, and that indicates that the tag is a closed tag. So this, for example, this B with the slash, would be telling the web browser to stop using boldface print. So, for example, this is the way you would write the HTML to make this print bold-faced. Now keep in mind that these tags here are only visible in the web design mode. The final result will look like this, and this is what the user sees. Now XHTML is recommended for most websites today. It's just a stricter version of HTML. HTML5, on the other hand, is the newest version of HTML, but a lot of the tags associated with HTML5 aren't supported by all web browsers yet. Dreamweaver recommends that you do your design work in XHTML. Now let's talk about static and dynamic websites. Websites can be grouped into two categories, static sites and dynamic sites. Static sites are those that are built with a program such as Dreamweaver. Dynamic sites make use of advanced programming with a database and generate web pages dynamically. Think of it this way. A static site is like writing a book. Every page is created by hand. Static web pages are a collection of pages with a .htm or .html extension. Each page is a separate file. A dynamic site, on the other hand, is more like a warehouse that's full of images, words, videos, and colors. These items are pulled off the shelf at lightning speed whenever you click on a page to view it, and the pages are created as they appear in your browser. These pages are not saved as individual pages. Instead, they're pieces of pages that can be pulled together to create a page. An example of a dynamic website is Amazon. One person can go to the Amazon homepage and they'll see recommended books for them. However, when another person visits, they'll see different recommendations. However, both people visit the same URL or page. Dynamic sites have page extensions such as PHP or ASP.NET. You can create dynamic websites using Dreamweaver. However, most professional designers and developers prefer Microsoft Visual Studio or Eclipse. Dreamweaver is best used for static pages. Now we'll talk a little bit about cascading style sheets or CSS. CSS is not an alternative to HTML. CSS is an addition to HTML. In this course, you're going to learn to design HTML websites. However, you can use cascading style sheets or CSS to apply styles. CSS, once you get the hang of it, can be a quicker alternative to applying styles than using HTML. With HTML, you have to establish things like fonts and colors several times throughout a page or website. Using CSS, you can apply one style over and over again to a page or a website without having to write HTML code each time you use the style. You'll see what we mean later in this course. Listed here are some of the other benefits to using CSS. It simplifies design changes. You can save CSS in the header of your page, or you can save it in a separate file to apply to several pages. If you use one style on several headlines, then want to change the style, you can simply modify the CSS instead of modifying every headline. When you separate content from design, you can create different style sheets for different audiences and devices. CSS allows you to easily design your site for different size screens, including mobile devices, so your site looks its best for everyone who sees it. Doing so is as simple as linking to a style sheet. And CSS helps ensure your website complies with the current standards set forth by the W3C, or the World Wide Web Consortium. The W3C recommends CSS because designs using CSS are